Hey, are you a high achiever who struggles with perfectionism? Do you get stuck in the cycle of overthinking? Do you do everything for everyone else because you think otherwise it won't get done? Do you feel like you should come with a disclaimer? Hi, I'm anxious. Hey, I'm Katy. Full disclosure, I'm not a therapist, doctor, or mental health professional. I'm just a career mama who also struggles with anxiety. For me, anxiety reared its head at the most inconvenient times when I wanted to be present with my family, at those high pressure business meetings, when I was laying in bed awake at night worrying instead of sleeping. I just wanted to relax and be able to have fun, and I know that you do too. What if you found tools to manage your anxiety? What if you knew how to enjoy life even though you are anxious? Look, it's time to put down that third cup of coffee and swap it for some lemon water. We're going to get control over anxiety so it can stop controlling you. Let's go, girl. Hello, friends. I have discovered that just about nothing makes my anxiety worse than overwhelm. Overwhelm can be such a frustrating emotion that will take existing anxiety and turn it into something bigger and worse than it was to start with. So, today we're going to discuss 3 questions you can ask yourself as busy working moms to find out if overwhelm is causing your anxiety. Before we get started today, I'd like to read a podcast review left by one of my listeners, Old Spice Man. Old Spice Man says, Katy had great ideas that made sense and didn't add to my anxiety. She helped me to ask the right questions and look for answers that would work for me. I am looking forward to the next episodes. Old Spice Man, thank you for taking the time to leave me this review. I'm so glad that I helped you ask the right questions so you could find answers that work specifically for you. I'm also glad that you are here. Thank you for sharing with me. And friends, I would so appreciate if you would also go rate and review the podcasts in Apple Podcasts. It's super helpful for podcasts just starting out to receive reviews, and I'd truly appreciate your feedback. Your feedback helps me create shows that you want to hear. Friends, today I want to talk with you about overwhelm. For me, overwhelm is an emotion that I identified had caused and exacerbated my anxiety more than perhaps any other emotion. I realized that when I was overwhelmed, everything was worse and I tended to spiral into a more difficult place with my anxiety. I found that when this happened, I tended not to take action to help myself or take actions that were not only not helping, but worsening my anxiety. I'm guessing this has happened for you too. Have you ever spent a busy day working so hard that you barely get time to eat or go to the bathroom? Then at the end of the day, you wonder what on earth you did the whole day despite being busy the entire time? Or have you ever got yourself feeling you have so much to do, you don't even know where to start? So you either don't start or waste your time doing something that feels productive, like writing in your planner, but not actually doing the work. If either of these scenarios resonate with you, I'm betting you are experiencing overwhelm. The good news is, if you can identify what you are struggling with and that it is overwhelm, you can start to do something about it. And if you can shift yourself out of overwhelm, I know you will find some relief for your anxiety or from your anxiety. I know this because this has happened for me over and over again. So, I want to talk about 3 questions that you can ask yourself as a busy working mom to see if overwhelm is causing your anxiety. The 3 questions are: am I pausing? Am I considering the totality of what I have to do? Am I setting priorities? So, let's go through each of these questions one by one. The first question: am I pausing? This one is so simple. Are you taking time to pause? Maybe take a breath to see clearly. How do you know when you aren't pausing? Let's talk about that first. When you physically move with urgency from activity to activity without pausing. I catch myself literally physically charging around the room or the office, doing one activity after the other. So quickly sometimes that I might come around a corner and almost bump into somebody. Or when you don't stop, make eye contact and really connect with the person who's in front of you. You have someone stop in your office unexpectedly, ask you a question, and instead of stopping to look at them and talk to them and either help them in the moment or say, hey, I don't have time to help you, you sit there half paying attention to them, half paying attention to the thing you were doing when they interrupted you. I have been guilty of both of these, literally marching down the hallway from meeting to meeting or typing on my computer, finishing the email that I was typing when someone has come in to talk to me, instead of doing one of those 2 things I mentioned where you stop and pay attention to the person or just say, hey, I don't have time for you right now. I'm sorry. Can we find time later? I find that when it comes to overwhelm, you feel a sense of urgency to get to the next thing, to finish what you're doing, to go, 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 rather than really being with the moment. The urgency may cause you not to pause. But if we can take a moment to pause, we can make a shift in our mindset so that we can take the next baby step mindfully rather than charging ahead to the next task and the next and the next, worsening our overwhelm and anxiety. So, am I taking time to pause? The next question is, am I considering the totality of what I have to do? This question is so great to figure out because you need to really consider all you have to do. You can do this by doing a simple exercise called a brain dump. So sit down with a piece of paper and write out literally everything you have to do. Every single time, without fail, that I take the time to do a brain dump, I see that what I have to do is not really as big and monstrous as I imagine it to be. It's always amazing to me how small the list is compared to how I imagine it to be in my brain. Now, don't get caught up in telling yourself you don't have time to do this exercise, because that's an excuse your brain will tell you. If that happens, just remind your brain that you need to do this so you can see clearly all of the things you have to do and not miss anything, because it will be written down in black and white. That is something that even the most logical of brains will struggle to argue with. So, am I considering the totality of what I have to do? Do a brain dump to find out the answer to that question. And finally, ask yourself, am I setting priorities? This question is so versatile because it can be big picture or little picture. Are you setting priorities for your life, for the season of your life, for the week, for the day? For the overwhelmed, anxious brain, maybe the only priority it can handle is, what is my priority right now in this moment? I find that as I practice this, I've been able more and more to shift my focus from the moment to the future. And some days when I'm super overwhelmed and anxious, the best I can do is decide the next little baby step. And that's okay. Either way, I'm paying attention to what is priority for now so I can shift my mind from that state of overwhelm to one of action, which reduces my anxiety. So let's summarize 3 questions that you can ask yourself as a busy working mom to see if overwhelm is causing your anxiety. Am I pausing? Am I considering the totality of what I have to do? Am I setting priorities? So, friends, your homework for this week is to ask yourself right now one of these 3 questions. Answer that question for yourself and then consider if you feel a little bit less anxious. That's all for today, friends. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Hey, friend, thanks for being here. Did today's episode help you feel more in control of your anxiety? Did it inspire you to rest or relax? Or maybe it challenged you to really look at why anxiety is a part of your life. If so, I'd love to hear from you. If you would take 30 seconds, pause this episode, scroll down in Apple Podcasts, and leave me a review, I would be so grateful. See you next week. Disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, and this podcast is not providing therapy or medical treatment. Contents of the podcast are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider with your health questions and concerns.